So, yeah, over the last few years, we've seen many different decentralized protocols appearing. So, different blockchains, distributed file storage protocols, P2P messaging, and they have all allowed us to do and are still allowing us to do many new great things. So, migrate applications that we might have built in Web 2 onto a more decentralized framework. So, things like social networking, on cloud computing. Now we can kind of put it onto a more decentralized framework. Or they allow us to build completely new kinds of applications. So things that are kind of more embedded into the fabric of society. So things like monetary systems, organizations, and so on. But even though they enable us to do all these great things, there is still a number of issues that we are having. So you might know that in the Bitcoin space, there has been a long raging debate over the block size, or recently in Ethereum, there have been a lot of heated discussions about immutability versus tolerance to error of users and of developers. And generally, members of these different decentralized protocol communities still have many questions unanswered. So if we think about improving these protocols and growing them, it's still not clear which proposals for improvements should be even considered. Then when decisions are being made, it's not very clear how to participate in decision making. A lot of these processes are very opaque, and conversations are happening behind closed doors. It's also very hard, if I have an idea for a protocol improvement, to gauge how likely it is to be passed, or when I'm done fighting and the community rejects my proposal. And it's also not clear who should be deciding in the first place. So in democracy, it might be the individuals within the country that are supposed to be coming together to make decisions. In a company, it might be shareholders, but often in most of these decentralized protocols, it is not really clear how decisions should be made. And also, there is a whole group of users that maybe don't follow exactly any of the decision-making process, but they still need to be able to follow the decisions are being made in order to still be able to run the applications on a new version of the protocol. So generally, there is a lot more problems in Web3 space with these kinds of things than in Web2 space. So why is that? There's a few different reasons for that. So the scope of decisions is much wider. So the protocols in decentralized applications often support much wider set of the application logic. So it's much more crucial to get the decisions right on the protocol level. There is also no substitute for the governance that we might have had when we deployed centralized applications in Web2 space. So there is usually no company or no institution that ensures that the protocol moves forward and the application moves forward. Now it's a decentralized protocol that is running on its own out there. And there is also no easy ability to adjust the protocol while maintaining these decentralized characteristics. So we no longer can have a central auto-updating server that ensures that everyone is running the same software, because then that defeats the purpose of the decentralized protocol. So we need some mechanism that is embedded into the decentralized protocol itself. And so how could we go about designing a good governance for decentralized protocols? So at Web3 Foundation, we think of a number of characteristics that a decentralized governance scheme should have. So it should be able to make good decisions. What are good decisions? Decisions that in some way represent the will of the people that should be participating in the governance process. So there has to be some fair representation. It has to make progress, so it cannot become stale, and it has to be able to keep making decisions, even though there might be low voter attention, or it might be generally the process might involve some friction. So it has to always make progress. It has to be secure, so it cannot be prone to manipulation or introducing changes that are not in line with what the community thinks should be the case, or is misleading in some way the community. It should maintain coherence of the system. It shouldn't fork at any disagreement within the community. There should be some notion of building consensus amongst the community to move jointly forward. And it has to be also scalable. So designing a process for a small group of people might not work for a large group of people or many proposals to consider. And of course, the whole system, if we are thinking about decentralized governance scheme, has to preserve these decentralized characteristics. Because if we have a centralized system that's governing over the decentralized system, then we lose all the qualities that we liked in the first place and that enable that to build these new kinds of applications. And so I will say a few words about Polkadot, which is a protocol that we are designing at the Web3 Foundation, and where we aim to introduce a new kind of this kind of new governance. And so Polkadot is a decentralized network of co-secured blockchains, and it aims to be a platform for many new Web3 protocols to come. So it provides interoperability, so allows different blockchains to interact with each other easily. It allows blockchains to be co-secured, so that the more blockchains there are in the ecosystem, the native Polkadot chains, the more secure it is, rather than less secure as with most existing blockchain networks. All of the different chains that are constituent in Polkadot can have many different characteristics. So they can be somewhat similar to Tezos or Zcash or Ethereum, or can have completely different logic that is being developed now or in the future. And what is important, it should evolve with the needs and technological improvements of the whole community, Web3 community, through this governance process. So how do we go about actually what is the actual process? So briefly, it tries to preserve the characteristics that I mentioned previously. So the ultimate power rests in the hands of the DOT holder. So DOT is the native token of Polkadot. So that already narrows down a bit the scope of design and tells us like who should be the ultimate decision maker. The governance is hierarchical, so there is the notion of parameters that are relevant for the whole network, and there is also a notion of parameters that are relevant to particular blockchains that are connected to the network. So that means that any particular decision can be considered only by the parties that it is most relevant for, rather than having to consider every single proposal globally. The same as with local and maybe national governments. There is a notion of tabled proposal. So it is clear which proposals should be debated right now and considered, and which are maybe not important and not ready for discussion yet. And DOT holders also elect a council that performs a number of important roles. So it differentiates between controversial and non-controversial proposals. So if a proposal is clearly malicious or it's clearly beneficial and it's just a simple technological improvement, then it can be much more easily either rejected or accepted. And if a proposal is controversial within a council, then it gets put forward for much more scrutiny from the community. Also, if a proposal ends up being in some way malicious after already the community has voted on it, council members can veto from time to time in order to delay the decision-making process and let the community reconsider if the proposal should really go through. And what is very important is that all proposals that are actually accepted, they are the decentralized protocol, then the decentralized network actually implements the change on all of the nodes that are running a particular the Polkadot network. So there is no need for a centralized updating service or some sort of other type of system that could be circumvented. And having also this whole coherent system ensures that the coherency of the overall network, and ensures that we don't have maybe multiple different decision processes that can lead to splits and forks within the network. So that is briefly that. And so if you are interested in some of our thinking about the Polkadot network or governance more generally, check out polkadot.network. We also have a grants program to support many different projects in the decentralized space, and we are looking to hire as well. So thanks a lot.